Hello and welcome to our Sabbath School panel as we continue studying the Sabbath School Quarterly titled Stewards in the Last Days, Part 1. This week we are studying Lesson 2, Financial Pyramids and Schemes. Before we dive in, let's have a word of prayer. Dear God, we thank you for all of your blessings and all that you've done for us and for keeping us safe this week. And we ask you to bless us now as we go through the lesson and be with the online viewers, and that we may have a good discussion. And forgive us our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Today on the panel, we have Brother Johnson, Brother Paul, and myself, Paloma. Before we begin the main lesson of the day, we are going to have a brief review of last week's lesson, Active and Capable. If you would like to study along with us, you can find a digital copy by visiting sdarm.org/publications. You can also find it on our mobile app through the Apple App Store or Google Play Store by simply searching for SDARM. Brother Johnson?
Thank you. So we're going to review the lesson titled Active and Capable we studied last week. And the key text is from Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10, which says, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy mind. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest." Paloma, can you read that little note there, the keynote?
Sure. Real happiness is found only in being good and doing good. The purest, highest enjoyment comes to those who faithfully fulfill their appointed duties. No honest work is degrading.
So we are supposed to do any kind of work that we find with all our might. And it also re-emphasizes here saying that no honest work is degrading. So here the key point I find are in two words. One, where it talks about honest, and the second one being work. So any honest work is not degrading, okay? So as much as possible, we should try to find a way to do some work and keep ourselves busy, not busy bodies, but busy. And at the same time, we have to make sure that it is honest work. We had talked about also how an idle mind is devil's workshop. And as much as possible, we should keep ourselves active. And on Sunday, we see that we should be careful in what kind of work we choose. And no matter what kind of work we choose, because not everyone is cut out to do the same kind of work. So we have people that are working in the medical industry, people that work in the hospitality industry, some that work in computers, some are preachers or missionary work, and some are mechanics and builders and all those things. But we can tell that all these work are honest, and it is involving physical labor in one way or the other. And there are others that actually just do kind of desk job. Okay, it's where they do the work just sitting behind a desk. But again, when it is done honestly, it is a blessing, not only to them, but it's a blessing to others as well. But at the same time here, we have also a warning as to if we don't do things honestly, or if we are trying to do things that are contrary to what God has explained or has instructed, see that we have crime and poverty and all the other problems that come together with it. So idleness, as it mentions here, it says idleness is one of the greatest curses. But on the contrary, one of the surest safeguard against evil is useful occupation. So again, it re-emphasizes useful occupation. And one good thing about how things are done here is even when you have teenagers that are in school, they tend to take up some part-time jobs. Okay, during summertime or summer breaks, and even those that are in universities and so on, they take those time to go and work so that they can earn some money to pay towards their further education. So think about those where everything is handed over to them. Parents provide for everything. They don't have to work. And not always, but what happens most of the time? We tend to see that they don't know the value of money. Because when you have to work and earn for your food or for your education or for your clothing and to provide for yourself, you know the value of that labor, that money. Okay, when everything is given to you, you know it will just come automatically, and that's why it's a dangerous thing.
I was listening to Ivanka Trump, who passed away recently, sharing about how they were raising their children. Of course, as we all know, Donald Trump was very rich, so they grew up very wealthy. And you mentioned, it's very important for people not to have everything handed down to them, to learn how to work. But she said, we made the kids, work in the business or whatever. My daughter was working in the flower shop, and the boys were working there. They were making $6 an hour. So they learned, even though they were from a wealthy family, it's still important to learn how to work and to learn how to manage your money, even though it might be small.
And that's one of the things where you actually value labor. If you have never seen people working, or if you have not worked yourself, when I'm talking about work, I actually doing physical work.
Sorry, it was Ivana Trump, I think, is the mom.
Yes.
Ivanka was the daughter. She's still alive.
So what happens is that when you see people doing physical labor, sometimes people tend to look down at that work. Okay, so when you do it yourself, you know how essential every single work is.
Yeah.
And here in continuing, it says, those who are always busy, who go cheerfully about their daily task, are the useful members of society. So you don't want to have members of society that are a burden to society or a burden to the government, okay? And you don't want to have members in the society who are causing problems with robberies or with all kinds of drug addicts or other things. But at the same time, you want people that are helping. You have so many people that volunteer. It's not like they don't have anything else to do, but they want to spend their time to help
doing something
others.
Useful.
Yes. Moving on to acceptable service. It also talks about here about choosing an occupation, what factors should be considered. There are so many things, but of all the most important thing we see here, as in Philippians, it says, Philippians 2, chapter 2, verse 14, it says, do all things without murmurings and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. Good example would be the maid who was working in the household of Captain Naaman. Okay, so she was representing God in that heathen family. Okay, but because of the faith she had, and the faith she had in the God that she trusted and she worshipped, and also about one of the prophet that she knew was also well known, and she was able to talk to the captain or to his wife and persuade him to go there. So again, she was a maid there,
and probably Naaman may be in heaven.
And so
possibly.
we see that it's more about the obedience and how we do it cheerfully. Joseph, he was sold as a slave, but at the same time he did not murmur. Okay, he was sad, of course, like that's normal. But even as being a slave, when he worked in Potiphar's household, he got to a point where Potiphar didn't even know what all he had but Joseph, because he gave everything to Joseph and said, take care of it. Okay, again, he was put in the prison, and there too, again, he was treated unfairly. But we see that there too, the jailer saw how he was behaving, and then he made him overseer over all the other prisoners. So without murmuring and disputing. So if our employers, depending on where we are working, are very, very trusting in our capability, saying that even if I'm not here, so and so is going to do a good job, I think that's a very good appreciation in itself, rather than having to kind of micromanage someone.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to see that God has given different talents to each and every one of us, and trying to find what talent we have. The only one way I think of doing it is to try and experiment with different things. Whatever your hand finds it, try it out and see. And if it is honest, and if you are putting your heart into it, you can tell for sure if it is excelling or not.
Yeah, and it talks here about choosing the work where, according to your capabilities. So you're like the talents that we have. Like you said, it's hard to know what talents we may have. How do you know, am I better at this or am I better at that? We can shadow. You can go shadow this profession, shadow that profession. Also, probably those around you may know, our parents, maybe our friends, other brethren in the church, or other, people that know us well, neighbors, whoever it might be, grandparents. They may know, and they say, I think you would be good for this because you seem to be very smart with the computer, or you seem to be very, organized or people friendly. Yeah, that's all important with choosing our work. But then under B, it talks about more importantly, we should choose to honor Christ with our work and all our tasks that we do in life.
Yes, in every task we have, like in different fields of labor. You may be a mechanic, you may be a nurse or a doctor, or you might be not a preacher though, because preacher you're already working in the gospel commission. Okay, but when you are honest, when you treat your patient kindly and lovingly, and when you really care for them, and when if you're a mechanic, when you treat your customers fairly. Okay, so all these things would be representing, and say people would ask you for sure. And that's an opening which for you to kind of tell about the God that you worship.
Yeah.
And that's where we move on to the work ethics part on the Tuesday. Here it says, God will not put his superscription upon the work of any man, high or low, rich or poor, that is not done heartily, faithfully, and with an eye single to his glory. So we have to see that this is not an automatic thing. Okay, so sometimes we talk about people that are naturally cheerful, or naturally they have a happy or a pleasing countenance. But some of these things have to be cultivated, to be honest, to draw all the things, all the praise that we receive towards God. And as it mentions, it should be done heartily and faithfully. If we do things heartily and faithfully, and all glory is given to God, it's a great blessing. So we have to be very careful at work when they kind of do an appraisal of your performance, or you do a performance check.
Annual review, yeah.
They make sure to make a note of everything, not just that you have the best performance. That's not enough.
Exactly.
How do you behave with others? How are you when you talk, or when you are communicating with your coworkers, and when you are being monitored, when you're not being monitored? All those things come into play. And how is your social life too? Okay, and if you are very calm and nice and courteous to your coworkers, but when you go out with coworkers, and then you're rude to the waitress or the waiter, that reflects on you. They said, oh, okay, because you're working in the office environment, you are trying to put up all this kind of fake behavior. But now we see exactly how you behave. But if you're really calm and courteous to others, it will really show up.
Yeah.
So under B, there is a large section where it says, what is a Christian's work ethic? If we remember that we are not really working for people here in this world, okay? We are really working for God. We are representing him. How would it be? Okay? So it says that the humblest duties are not to be ignored. Any honest work is a blessing, and faithfulness in it may prove a training for highest trust. So whatever we can find, we should make sure that it's not ignored.
And we should do it diligently. It says, whatsoever, Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, Colossians 3:23, and whatsoever ye do it heartily as to the Lord, not unto men. So just, whether it's sweeping the floor, we talked about this last time, whether it's mopping, doing it to the Lord. And although people may not see, the Lord sees, and that's what's more important. As we were studying these lessons, this whole quarterly, just talking about being stewards, just thinking, we were talking today in the Sabbath school class that we had, the real live Sabbath school class, about, we were talking about, whatever we do at home, keeping our house clean, keeping our rooms clean, not stepping over something and without putting it away, but also how about at the workplace? When you walk to work or wherever you are in the parking lot, if you see a piece of trash, many times that's not my trash. We just step over it. But are we doing everything in life heartily as unto the Lord?
That's something to consider, really, because it's very easy to overlook things.
Yeah.
Okay? A few other key points I saw here, where it talks about, if you're a mother, train your children for Christ. This is as verily a work for God as it is that of the minister in the pulpit. If your duty is in the kitchen, seek to be a perfect cook.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just think that, so-and-so is just a homemaker. Okay, they're just a stay-at-home mom. But have you ever really kind of considered what all it takes to be a good mom?
If you're trying to be a good mom or a good dad or whatever, and if you're a full-time, parent and raising your children and giving them homeschool especially, it's probably more than a full-time job.
Yes.
Cooking, cleaning, homeschool, teaching them, educating them about Christ, educating them about being diligent.
And they're preparing the children for eternity.
Yeah.
Okay? As much as it is important for to consider the work of the preacher.
Yeah.
Traveling to different places, hungry, thirsty, whether they are in good health or kind of not feeling so good, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They still have to go and do their calling. But so is the work and the duty of a mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So it talks about how we have to put our mind on what we are doing. In all your work, represent Christ. Do as he would do in your place. When you think about it in this case here, it gives a completely different perspective. Do as he would do in your place. Would Jesus do a partial work? That's good enough? No. In everything he did things perfectly. Even in his death, when he left the grave,
he folded everything.
Everything was folded. Everything was done decently and in order.
Yeah, if we think about that, it changes our perspective and the way we do things. It would change it.
But what about if I'm in a rush?
How would Jesus do it?
Make time.
See, exactly. So when we tend to give excuses, but when you look at it, yes, I am in a rush. Would Jesus do it that way? No.
Would Jesus even be in a rush in the first place?
Well, we should try to make everything done in order. But if we are in a rush, take the time. Try to do it fast, but orderly.
Well,
when you're driving, okay, you are in a rush, okay, you had traffic and whatnot. So do you just jump the red light or just clip off someone and keep driving? No, we have to still be Christians, okay? We should not be just afraid of the police that might come and pull us over, but we should remember that we are Christians, okay?
Yeah.
Moving on to the most important work. So what is the most important work? We hear, sometimes we talk about, saving people. Yes, physically saving people is a very important work. But how much more it is to save the souls of people. It says the work above all work, the business above all others, which should draw and engage the energies of the soul, is the work of saving souls for whom Christ has died.
And it's something, sorry.
Go ahead.
As something that's present at every job, no matter what you do as a job, that's always something that you should keep in mind with the people around you.
And that's why it says here, make this the main and the important work of your life. Make it your special life work. So in any kind of work we do, if we think that, okay, that's a soul that's hungering. And we have heard testimonies at prayer meetings as to how many times the patient have asked the nurse or the doctor, would you pray for me? Or would you pray for my family? And different kind of things. So that's an opening ways. Nowadays, there are so many restrictions where we cannot openly share our faith with them. But when they ask, that's a great opportunity. God opens the opportunity for us. Okay? And we see that, yes, there are so many souls that are perishing. But there are times when the missionary is very happy. When do you think that is?
when one soul repents or
gives his heart
to the Lord, yeah. Not only the missionary, but in heaven, there's joy in heaven over one sinner that repenteth.
But even more so, the missionary that worked, because sometimes I have heard of testimonies where it was really, really hard convincing the person that was being studied with. Like you kind of bring any kind of explanation, then they find something else, some other question, some other doubt, and it's almost like a stumbling block. But when the mind of that person is cleared, like their faith is so strong.
And it's really the Holy Spirit that does the convincing, because
exactly.
We can do all the studying with somebody, but if they're not touched by the Holy Spirit, it's worthless. And then you're saying, when is that person? We're talking about that minister or worker, or even any of us. We're all born into the kingdom of God as missionaries. When we study with someone, if they give their heart to the Lord, we're happy then. But how happy will it be to be in heaven, and you can see that person that you brought to the Lord in heaven? That's going to even be such a great joy, and you can talk with them, and you can spend years of eternity together with them.
And as much as we don't have to see what, kind of be proud of what the result is going to be, but imagine the number of stars we would have too, okay? It's not about that it's my work, but it's something to think about. I was part of it.
Amen.
Okay? And yes, God gave talents to different people, okay? But how did I use that talent? Okay, and the one other greatest thing is about, like, they would not be looking at, oh, I have just 1 star, or and so has 10 stars. Each one would be perfectly content with what they have. Because if I got the opportunity, I have to make the best use of it. And again, there are always testimonies of how even in the checkout line, they just had a small conversation, and that in itself is a blessing to the other person. Okay, like that little 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2-3 minutes, or if you have several in a line, until you get to the cash register there, that little time that you use is going to be a blessing.
Yeah.
So we talked about a mother, we talked about the missionaries, and again, lay members as well. But what about other occupations here, as it mentions in Thursday? It talks about the medical work. It says there is no missionary field more important than occupied by the faithful, God-fearing physician. Jesus, when he was here in this earth, first he healed. He took care of their physical needs. There are times when we have a headache, okay, or we have toothache, or any kind of pain for that matter. How much do you think you can concentrate on your work? That thing always keeps bothering us, okay? And that's why they tell you, okay, why don't you take a pain medication? At least once it alleviates your pain, you can concentrate even better, okay? So this medical work is very, very important. We know that it's that opening wedge. In today's society, these days, with all the food and with all the different kind of activity or not being active, meaning sedentary life, there are so many people that have different ailments. It's very important. It talks about business, how we have to have a principle and follow it. It has to be good. You see, it talks about Daniel. Daniel was a sample of what every businessman may be. He wasn't doing anything extraordinary. He did everything properly and exactly. And that's what others were lacking. It talks about teachers, how they are needed, and especially for children, because they are bringing up the children. They are molding. Yes, homeschooling, the parents take care of the children, but not everyone have the luxury of doing that. So there are other parents that have to send their children to the school. And when you send
regular teachers and even teachers in church, Sabbath school classes, especially for the children, they can have a big influence.
They do have a big influence, and they do have a bigger responsibility.
Yeah.
Because if the child doesn't like to come to Sabbath school, or if the child doesn't like Bible, that's a big thing, okay? So it's how we bring it to the children, how we tell why we need you to come to church on Sabbath, why Jesus is waiting for you at church. The angels are there worshiping. Now we really need you to be there as well, and teach them to sing and so on. And it talks about all the other employments as well. So it says, real happiness is found only in being good and doing good. No honest work is degrading. Again, it repeats here. So real happiness is found only in being good and doing good. We have to think about others in whatever we do. And whenever we do good, we should remember that it's not that earning money is bad, okay? With any kind of profession, if you're doing it really well, wholeheartedly, cheerfully, obviously you'll be getting better business and you'll be earning more. But our concentration should not be diverted towards making money. It should be towards representing God and towards doing
it for His
everything
honor and glory.
properly for the honor and glory of God.
But interestingly, real happiness, I love that part, is only found in being good and doing good. So we're going to be truly, if we want to be, obviously, who wants to be the happiest people on earth? I want to be the happiest person on earth. And if you keep on reading that note, it's not right here, but it was in the keynote. It says real happiness is found only in being good and doing good. The purest, highest enjoyment comes to those who faithfully fulfill their appointed duties. So I want to have the highest, purest enjoyment in life. I think everyone wants to have, they want to do, what's the next thing? What's the next mountaintop? What is it? In basketball and sports, it's the championship. After the championship, maybe it's the Olympics. You want to win the gold medal. And not only after one gold medal, how many gold medals do you want to win? Yeah. You want to win several gold medals. You want to break the records. You want to hold the world record. But is that it? Is that the highest pinnacle of happiness? Or people like Bill Gates making, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, they're millionaires, billionaires, obviously billionaires. You might be happy. Money will bring temporary happiness, but the purest, highest happiness and enjoyment is found in fulfilling life's duties and doing good to others.
And I don't think that they are as rich as King Solomon was, okay? But he himself, when he had everything, he said, that's nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay? So, yes.
Because it didn't give him the happiness he was looking for.
Yes, with the names that you mentioned, they might be happy in some cases and all those things. And some they don't, and there are many others that are so philanthropic that they just give away all their wealth, okay? They earn a lot, but they give away a lot too. But King Solomon had everything, and he did give to others, and also he did please himself as much, but he said, that's just vanity and vexation of spirit.
Yeah.
So we see that going back, if we do missionary work, and in whatever way we can, and if we can draw one soul closer to heaven, closer to God, that is the best thing that we can think that we can reach. And it says here, we cannot make the heart purer or holier by clothing the body in sackcloth or depriving the home of all that ministers to comfort, taste, or convenience. So we should not worry about that. We should not have all those things. Yes, whatever is essential, we need to have. But our motive or goal should not be making money, but bringing honor and glory to God. So let us do the best that we can in whatever we can find, whatever our hand can find, not being idle, but do it unto the Lord as if He would do it.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Johnson. And we will now move on into our main lesson of the day, financial pyramids and schemes. Brother Paul?
Thank you. How many of you want to get rich? How many of you want to get rich quick? I mean, I got to raise my hand because who doesn't want to get rich? The Bible doesn't say that it's wrong to be rich. It says it's wrong to love money, right? But we're going to talk today about financial pyramids and schemes, and a lot of it correlates to what? Getting rich quick. That's a lot of these financial pyramids and schemes where, if you do this, and if you get 5 people under you, and if they get 5 people under you, and if they get 5 people to sign up, you're going to make these dividends, and that's a financial pyramid, right? Or schemes. Well, if we can just sell 100 of these things to 100 people, and if they each can sell 10 or 100, then this and that, and then you can be, you're going to be producing a passive income that brings you in thousands of dollars. And many people do make it like that. But we see these are actually financial pyramids and schemes, and they are not really biblical. The Bible in Proverbs, probably like you mentioned, Johnson, in the review lesson, King Solomon was one of the wealthiest men ever yes. in the entire universe history. Jerusalem, I think they said Jerusalem had silver like stones. So Solomon, what does he say about the person who tries to make haste to get rich? It doesn't say being, nothing wrong with being rich, but what about the one that makes haste to be rich?
Shall not be innocent.
He shall not be innocent. What is he going to be? Yeah, go ahead, Paloma.
Yeah, the thing about these kind of schemes is that, they're usually too good to be true.
Exactly.
Because it's all like, oh, you need to do this and that. And, well, yeah, some people do get rich quick. It's usually not because they're trying to. And usually when someone's trying to, then they become, obsessed with doing that, and they are still left wanting. They're never satisfied.
Exactly. So this memory text in Proverbs 28:20 says, a faithful man, someone who is faithful in his duties, like we were talking about last week, shall abound with blessings. But he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. So here we see that the person who is faithful, diligent with their work, they will be abounding with blessings, physical blessings, spiritual blessings, and specifically here, it's also specifically talking about financial blessings. But I think like Paloma mentioned, what's the problem with those people who try to be haste to be rich? It's not through honest gain. A lot of those financial pyramids, I forgot what you used, the word or something, but...
Well, if you do this and that, then they're become obsessed with wanting to, get rich quick, and it's not honest. It's too good to be true.
Exactly. It's too good to be true. And some people may get rich quick, but other people down that line in the pyramid, they lose the money that they put in. They end up not making it.
And that's why it says, shall not be innocent. So, yes, the ones on the top, they get rich.
Yeah.
But that's by deceiving the ones that are below. Okay?
Exactly.
Saying that, okay, you guys are going to get rich as well. And you have heard the saying, by hook or by crook. Okay? That's exactly what we are talking about here. So you get rich, for sure.
Yeah.
But you would do whatever it takes to get rich.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's lawful or it's unlawful.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes those businesses they fail, and the people change businesses, company names or whatever. There's crooked business. So it's not worth it to do that. The Lord can help us to be successful. He can help us to be wealthy, but not for ourselves. We should not be focusing to use the money for ourselves. We should focus to use the money for Him. And we're going to see that as we go through here. But how can we get rich? The Bible doesn't say that we should not get rich or wealthy. Before we get into riches through labor on money, let's target and take a look at Sunday. Get rich quick. So what is the result of participating in some of these schemes?
You're still left wanting in the end because, well, the problem with these schemes is that, like you were saying, usually it's only the people at the top, and they get rich by deceiving others, and then most of the people that get involved, nothing happens, and so then they're still trying and left wanting more.
Yeah, so many times we might, and also when some of these things happen, it's something like urgent, right? Someone tells you like, you got to join tomorrow. This is the last night. If you want to get in before the thing closes, this is your opportunity, and you can double your money in a month. And they tell you like that. But if, let's say something like that is true, all your attention, all your focus, all your thoughts will be, let me try to do this, let me try to get that, I want to double my money. Instead of where should our focus, where should our thoughts be? I think that's what that verse, this sentence says under 1a. The spirit of gain-getting, of making haste to be rich, of this all-absorbing wilderness is painfully contradictory to our faith and doctrines. So this is against our faith and our doctrines. And why does the Christian steward labor for eternal wealth? So it's against our faith and doctrines because we should be working for something else. We should have another urgency, and that's our eternal wealth. And what will happen to those who are laboring for their eternal wealth?
Well, we see that their focus is completely on a different thing. Because yes, we need money and other things for this for our life on this earth. Okay, we need to provide for our food, for our clothing, education, our house, and other things. But at the same time, as Apostle Paul said, what good is it if I gain everything and lose my soul?
Yeah.
And that's where when we talk about the Christian steward, it's not just about that person's eternal wealth. It's about looking at the salvation of others as well. And
Exactly.
here we see that Satan, as it mentions here, Satan watches the peculiar, selfish, covetous temperament of some who profess the truth. And he will tempt them by throwing prosperity in their path, offering them the riches of earth. So it's almost like baiting, okay? And sometimes you can, you might have heard about a carrot and a donkey, or carrot and a horse. Okay, you just dangle it in front of the horse or the donkey, and it keeps running, but it never gets it. But the same way we see that Satan sometimes gives a little bit, okay? And then people do something wrong or yield to the temptation and say, it works. Okay, so I might,
and maybe it does. Maybe they do get wealthy, but it's. We find here from the note that the devil is trying to catch those who.
There have been kind of instances where they had in the news where there were this man who was in charge of the vault. Okay, so he took $100,000 and then gambled. Not 100,000 actually. He did like $5,000 or $10,000. He gambled, and he doubled it. Okay, so 10 became 20. Just like that. And next time he did $100,000, and since $100,000 is a lot of money, he had to get another accomplice to open the vault to handle such a large amount. But what happened there? He was able to double the 10 to 20, but they lost the 100,000. So now they said they didn't let it go. They said, "Oh, we lost 100,000. Now we need to put that money back." So how do you do that?
Take more money,
double it, so you can pay it back and keep the gain for you. And then what happened really? They lost that one too, and then they were arrested and so on. So yes, it's almost like
a slippery slope.
Like an advertisement. Okay, it's like too good to be true.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what will happen.
Yeah, and in many cases it can't happen like that. Sometimes it can be that it works out and the persons are wealthy, but if the devil can get us to get our eyes off of Christ, then he gains everything. When Jesus was here, we know he tempted Jesus with all the beauties of all the treasures of this world. He brought him to the mountaintop. He showed him all the kingdoms from the beginning of the world until the end of the world, all the riches, all the splendor. And he said, all of this will be yours if you worship me. So moving on to Monday, riches through labor. So back to our key verse. The difference between those who make haste to be rich and those who are faithful is not only the difference of the way they do it, but their end result will be different. So one is blessed. The faithful man shall abound with blessings. Those who make haste to be rich, many times they will be guilty. And what are some examples from the Bible that we see that are given here in Proverbs of those who are diligent and are able to increase their income, increase their talents, increase their financial assets through diligence or through faithfulness?
Well, here it says that she considered a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planted a vineyard. And in Proverbs 31:24 it says, she maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. So it's labor, useful labor. And what kind of comes to my mind is about this family business. They say fifth generation farmers or fifth generation, they may be a grocery store or any kind of store. It's because they were honest and they were working wholeheartedly that they were able to keep on doing this, okay? And we can see, again, the blessing because they are honest and they are doing it diligently and wholeheartedly, that it's generation after generation, they're able to keep it. And again, it may not be the same with all the cases, but there are many times when one of the generation, the children are not that diligent and they just mismanage and then it's lost, okay? But as it mentions here, yes, whenever you do proper labor, then it's easy to get rich as well.
Exactly,
But it's a
proper
blessing.
labor. So these people, I mean, and specifically Proverbs 31, we know it's talking about the faithful woman of Proverbs 31. And this woman was doing things. You know, she was buying the field. She was looking for the field. She was putting a vineyard on it, maybe selling the grapes, selling the grape juice. The field gains equity over time. She makes linen, she sells it, and then she gives the girdles to the merchant. And she's actively doing things to make a living. She's working for it. As opposed to many times the get-rich-quick schemes where you try to get rich really quick. How much are you actually doing to get the money? It's like you don't have to do this much, but you're going to bring it in. Like you mentioned, John said, I mean, maybe some people like gambling. If I go tonight, I can double my money, triple it, get it back, then I can do this, that, or some big crazy investments. It's not honest.
But we also see that like here, see, considereth a field and buyeth it, okay? So even shrewd businessmen, they also do that. In real estate, they go find a really good piece of land and they know that, okay, not now, but down the line it's going to really appreciate. That's shrewdness, okay? But it's not overnight. Okay, they go, they look at it. And another thing comes to my mind is royalties, okay? Sometimes like they invent certain things and then this money just keeps on coming. But how do they get it? First, they have to do something, okay?
Some research.
Or invent something or develop something. And then it comes, it's a blessing.
I like how you brought that out. The word, she considereth the field. She didn't just go buy any field.
Exactly. So sometimes we may say, oh, so-and-so works as a lawyer, okay, for example. Yes, when they go and plead for their client, we see that, again, honestly, okay, many times by unscrupulous ways, they do win. But when they do things honestly, yes, they win a lot of money, okay, for their clients and also as a fee for themselves. But you need to put in the effort. But again, when we are going back and forth, when we talk about people that do things crookedly, yes, for a time being, yes, they may enjoy the blessing, but later on, you will see how either they repent or it doesn't stay that long.
Yeah, so we can learn from these verses from her. We can also make wise choices on purchasing lands, purchasing houses, wise choices on a business. You know, she maketh linen. We don't have to make linen, but you can make a bread business. You can make a whatever business, and make your product, sell your product, and God will bless that.
Just as an example, like it's not a big deal, but it's a small thing. These days we see that they have, because everyone is so busy, they have this food business, okay? You choose a menu and they give you packet vegetables and whatever you need, everything.
Like HelloFresh?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So the thing is, you choose the size of your family so you don't have much wastage. And similarly, I heard at home that one of this mother was making packets for crafts. Okay, so if you're going to do this craft in the homeschooling curriculum, you have all these things already ready. You don't have to go and buy a whole yarn and just so many other things. But again, to think about it, it does take time and effort and also the creativity to say that I can do this, and it will benefit so many other parents that are homeschooling. So it's just that little things makes a very good idea, and it's a blessing. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. Could you read us the note, Paloma, under the second note under 2A, every moment?
Sure. Every moment which comes in to excite the desire to get riches quickly by speculation takes the minds of the people away from the most solemn truths that ever were given to mortals. There may be encouraging prospects for a time, but the end of the matter is failure. The Lord endorses no such movements. If this work is sanctioned, many would be attracted by these speculative schemes that could not in any other way be led away from the work of presenting the solemn truths that must be given to the people at this time.
Thank you. Actually, could you continue the next one too?
Sure.
Because these are great notes.
Work is a blessing, not a curse. Diligent labor keeps many, young and old, from the snares of him who finds some mischief still for idle hands to do. Let no one be ashamed of work, For honest toil is ennobling. While the hands are engaged in the most common tasks, the mind may be filled with high and holy thoughts.
Amen. Do you have any comments here? I think, we were already studying before in previous lessons that work is a blessing, and this keeps us from the devil. It gives us something to do, even if we don't need to physically work for our financial security or something like that. Like you said, we can volunteer, we can help with the church, we can do other things, and that's going to be a blessing for ourselves and also for others.
The thing that also comes to my mind is the experience of Apostle Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He did not go and then just say, I'm here to preach for you and then you need to supply my need. He preached and then he went into tent making.
Yeah.
And then with the money he earned from it, he fed himself and also gave it to the poor. So he was doing the work and he was working to help those that are in need as well. So we should not just wait for someone to come and service us or to help us, but we should do the work diligently, and we should also keep ourselves busy. As it mentions here, work is a blessing, not a curse.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's so true. But under B, why do so many people just want to go into those get-rich-quick schemes?
They hope for quick success without doing much.
Exactly.
Well, there is also a deception where really you see others that are not that good, but they seem to be getting richer and richer. So it's almost like you would think that they might be doing something right and I might be doing something wrong. No wonder I'm not making as much money as them. That's a deception.
Yeah.
And that's where we see in Sunday where he says Satan shows them these things.
Exactly.
And when they look at it, they say, maybe if I try that and see. And then once you put your feet there, it mentions here that it mentions here, Satan triumphs because his plan has succeeded. Mm-hmm. So once you put one foot there, then you try to put the other one there, and then it's a slippery slope. That's it. So we have to be very, very careful.
Well, this question did get me thinking that it talks about speculative financial ventures, which is like, seeing anything and then thinking, oh yeah, I should leave everything behind and go do this because I'm going to get rich quick. But what would you say is the main difference between that and then seeing a good opportunity and seizing it?
That's a good question, because the Lord does give us good opportunities, and we have opportunities to grow our funds, to grow our talents, opportunities for business. I think that, I don't know, maybe Johnson, you're more experienced.
Well,
maybe.
Again,
I can have my thoughts.
It's kind of mentioned here as well, okay? So where is our mind focused, okay? God gives us certain opportunities to make the best use of it. But our mind is not fully just concentrated all the time, okay? Sometimes it becomes all absorbing, okay? When you're eating, you're just thinking about it. How do I make more? When you're sleeping, you even dream about it, and all your time is spent on that. And again, this one is talking specifically about speculative financial ventures. And many times this is about this uncertainty of like stock market, for example, okay? It's speculation. You get more by how the market trend goes. Sometimes there are some that actually do watch it. But again, what happens? They are spending a lot of their time checking, oh, the market is down. Oh, it's recovered. And it absorbs all their time. And here it mentions about how they are backsliding from God. God doesn't take the place. And the other day we were just talking about how Sabbaths are. Sometimes it's just so busy that we don't even have time to enjoy the Sabbath completely. Whereas if our life is simple, we won't be worrying too much about other things. And again, that's what the note tells here, where it says, then comes a feverish unrest. A longing desire to obtain means more rapidly than present circumstances will admit. Their surroundings are accordingly changed in hope of making more money. But frequently their expectations are not realized, and they become discouraged and go backward rather than forward. So now their mind is not focused on God or not on other things, but on how they can make their own surrounding better, or how they can make their standard of living higher. So it's like I mentioned, it's more about these uncertain things. There are certain things that are very stable. Okay, in those things, yes, if you wisely invest, you don't worry about it. Okay, that doesn't absorb all our time. And again, like real estate, if you know things are working really well and there is going to be a development, it's okay. But you're not thinking that, oh, I hope a big shopping mall comes nearby so the value of my property goes up. You're not just thinking all the time about it.
Yeah.
You make wise investment.
Yes, so thank you.
And in the meantime,
for
you
sharing.
just continue to go on with what you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And just to briefly answer, Paloma, on your question, what is the difference between a good opportunity, a good business opportunity, or a good financial opportunity versus a speculative financial venture? A good opportunity is going to be something that's stable, that has stability, something that you may have to work for a little bit, you may have to put a little effort into, and it's not just something where you put your money here and somehow it happens. It's usually a good financial opportunity. Usually it's like a business, for example. Maybe someone has a business and they want to take you on as their entrepreneur, or take you on as they're going to train you. So these things are things, and it's going to grow, like Johnson says, steadily.
Time, yeah.
It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. Like in a month, you're going to be a millionaire if you just invest $50,000 today.
And one other thing, when you mentioned about how they pressure you into getting into these schemes, okay?
Yeah.
There are times when you have to take the time. Let me pray about it.
Yeah.
Let me take the time. Like, can I really?
Because they're tempting.
Invest that money.
Yeah.
Okay. What if it doesn't work out? Can I afford to lose that money? Okay. And then when you take your time and you say, I think it really makes sense, because you do your research to not just close your eye and then decide to do it. But when you take the time, you get into it knowing its pros and cons. Okay. You are willing to take the little bit of risk. But when you are not sure, like you have no control over the speculative investments, like it may work out, it may not.
Yeah.
It's not in your control. Then that is dangerous.
That's true. Good example. You're right. So what do we have control over? And a good opportunity, maybe we will have some control over it. Moving on to Tuesday, know the enemy's strategy. So even in the day that we live in, even with all the temptations that there may be, financial temptations, other temptations, today we're specifically talking about finances, God also gives us an opportunity to understand more how to not fall into these schemes, and how to not fall into these traps. And Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven." So specifically, talking about, we're talking about finances. A lot of times we're able to grow our finances by using our time. And time is something that God has given us. It's a talent. And this talent of time we can use for our own benefit. We can use it for the benefit of others. We can use it to help the church, to help those in need. And we can use it wastefully. Isn't it interesting that God keeps record of our time? Oftentimes we don't think of it, but we take our phones, and I'm sure many of us here have this. If we have a smartphone, if you have some apps on here, there's some apps that are very good at taking our time, right? YouTube, it's a good app, but you watch one video and then there's like another related video. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Let me check that out. And then how about Instagram, Facebook? Just scroll. What's next? But what is it doing? Maybe some of it is a beneficial thing, or it's not bad. But is the devil using that to take away our time from doing something more useful? I want to highlight this second note under 3a. Our time belongs to God. Every moment is His. And we are under the most solemn obligation to improve it to His glory. Of no talent He has given, will He require a more strict account than of our time. So moving on to part B, as we're planning use of our time and improving our time, right? It mentions here improving our time. It's hard to improve our time because time is going.
Mm-hmm.
But what should we do as we're trying to improve our time and plan for the future?
Well, we should be aware of how we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, yeah, we should keep that in mind while we're planning our use of time.
Okay, you're right. So I like what you brought out. We should be aware that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So then what does that mean we should do with our time today?
Use it wisely.
Use it wisely, exactly. And I think most importantly, if we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, if we may end up shot tomorrow, we may end up in a car accident, having a heart attack, whatever it might be. If we use our time today to serve the Lord, if we use our time today to have, every day we should have something done. We should have our lives right with the Lord. And if we have our lives right with the Lord every day, it doesn't matter what, the other stuff, that's not so important, right? I mean, yes, it's important if you worked and were faithful at your job and stuff, but was my life right with God today? Did I spend time with Jesus today? Did I study His Word today? If my life is going to end tonight or tomorrow, will I be okay? That's the most important thing we can do with our time. That's probably number one, worrying about our own salvation. Number two, did I use opportunities to reach others?
Mm-hmm.
And why is it so important for us to use the opportunity, use our time, not only to have a relationship with Christ for ourselves, but why is it so important to reach others in each of our daily lives?
Well, we know that the time is short, and like Paloma mentioned, we don't know what's in store for us in the future.
Mm.
But the time we have now, we have to make the best use of it, and we know that probation will be closed soon.
Yeah.
The actual probation, or if we lose our life right away.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about it, any opportunity we lose is lost forever.
Yeah. You're right. And you mentioned before that sometimes we meet people in the line in the store, or here and there we might talk to somebody and we may not talk to them again. And if we lose those opportunities, many times that's it. That's it. The last time we saw them.
We never see them, and we will keep living, but maybe they never get the same kind of opportunity to bring their heart closer to the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You're right. But at the same time, it's a fine balance. I mean, I was watching a video of a man who was preaching, and he was saying, is your life right with the Lord? If not, you're going to go to hell, and all these things, fire and brimstone.
Oh.
And then a Christian lady in the audience said, we shouldn't be preaching about Jesus and trying to scare people into hell and all of that. We should be preaching Christ through our lives,
Mm-hmm.
through our lifestyle, through our actions. And the guy said, well, yes, you're right, but I might not see these people again. So I have to tell them tonight, is your life right with God? If you're breaking the commandments, you're going to be dead. You're going to go to hell. So
they have to be warned as well. We should not just sugarcoat it, but at the same time,
we don't want to just tell everyone in Walmart in the line that if you break the commandments, you're going to hell, right?
Yes.
So how do you bring together a balance in those two ideas? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with our life. We don't know if we're going to have an opportunity to witness someone again.
Jesus never forced anyone
religion.
Because if anyone could really say it with guarantee, it was Jesus Christ, saying that if you're not right with the Lord, you're going to die and go to hell.
Right, okay? You're right.
But he did not. He always won them by love. He never forced anyone, and that's how we have to win them over, not force them in.
Exactly.
Like you can drag them, okay? And if people are just going to be another 1 hour and okay, I can go home. You don't want that. Like you want people that will really want to come to the church, not just for that time period, but to learn more about God and also go and share it with others. It should be out of love.
You're right. I think we should take into perspective the whole picture, like you mentioned. Jesus never forced anyone. He never rushed anyone. Thinking of the people he talked with and met, he never told them, today is the day. If you don't, the Bible says today is the day of salvation, but he didn't, tell them, if you do this or that, you're going to hell. He didn't scare them, yes. So we shouldn't either. He was their friend.
Exactly.
He was kind to them. And many people later that Christ healed, that he talked to after his crucifixion, I'm sure many of the new converts were some of those people. And we might think, okay, even though I might not see this person in Walmart again, even though I might not see my coworker again, maybe they only worked in my job for 3 months and I might not see them again. But what impact as a Christian do I leave on their life? And that's not the only impact that they have. See, God will never allow anyone to perish without having an opportunity to make a decision. We might influence part of that decision in the future, but we might not be the one bringing them to that decision. God will give them other opportunities, other people in their lives.
And he puts people
at
to
different
cross
times.
paths.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
When they're ready.
There is wonderful testimonies that we always hear, that how people cross each other's path, but it was just providence that it happened. So
yeah, that's great. So B was a nice section. This Tuesday has a lot of sections. So let's keep on moving because we have C and D to cover. In seeking to advance God's work, what must we realize? As we're trying to advance God's work, who is trying to stop us?
Satan.
Yeah.
He's always watching.
Or
like he's always paying attention to what we're doing and trying to find ways to make us stumble.
Yes, you don't have to work so hard. You have one more day. So you can just rest a little bit, take it easy. And if we heed to those kind of things, then we just become lazy. But if we realize that time is short, we need to get as much things done as possible today, then we would see that we are never lazy. We are just so enthusiastic and energetic to keep on pressing forward.
Yeah, you're right. He gives us that one or he gives us the other one. Yeah, do it today. You need to do everything today, and then you get exhausted. and even if you're doing a good thing, even if you're preaching sermons, reaching the poor, going to mission trips, you just crash and maybe lose your own spirituality, and tomorrow you're useless. So the devil is trying to get us to either overdo it, underdo it, whatever it is.
Do everything in temperance.
Exactly. Let all things be done in temperance. So it says here, he's a roaring lion. He's watching us. How can he corner us? How can he catch us to make improper use of our time, to improperly use our time? What does inspiration teach about the struggle before us? We have a struggle. We have a struggle with the use of our time, with the use of our money. Do you struggle with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Everybody does.
Honestly, I do.
Time.
Yeah. Is it just a battle between us and our kind of laziness within us? Is that the only thing that's taking place? No. What do those verses tell us, Paloma, in Ephesians 6, or the verse Ephesians 6:12?
It says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places."
Thank you. So that brings it into perspective. Even the battle with time, it's not a wrestle. Oh, I'm just lazy today. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like being productive. No, there's a battle going on. There's evil angels. There's principalities. There's powers. There's good angels that are trying to encourage us to do what's right. But we have to be on the Lord's side, and He will help us. And it might be difficult sometimes. Maybe we might get tired of diligently, or maybe we might get tired of working for souls. But what is one quality that the saved will have in the end that we find in Matthew 24:12 and 13 under Tuesday?
It says, "And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved."
Thank you. So sometimes it could be discouraging. Sometimes it can be frustrating. Sometimes we can get tired. But if we endure to the end, God will help us to be saved.
And one thing, as you mentioned, is like, okay, with people that overdo it. Okay, they're just pushing. They're just so exhausted that they cannot do it anymore. And that's not because of God, but it's because of their own doing. Because, 6 days we labor and 1 day we rest. Okay. Sometimes, or most of the time, ministers or the pastors, the Sabbath is the most busiest day for them, for example. Then they can get to take a day off in between. They also have to relax. They also have to kind of study and recharge their own brain. Because, okay, you can be just doing things for others, but when do you feed your own soul?
Your soul, yeah.
Okay?
So even too much good is not good.
Well, that becomes not too much good. Sometimes it becomes bad. It's like overdoing it. Okay, honey is good, but when you take too much, it becomes poisonous. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to be very careful. And again, when you take the time, I heard from one of the preachers too that when they take their vacation, they are completely out. Meaning, they are completely out in a sense, like they don't tax their mind with anything else. I'm talking about cares of the church work,
activities.
Yes, if something comes in, they may do, but mostly not. But when they come back, they are so energetic and they are so full of vigor that the work is more productive.
Yeah.
Imagine you working in the health industry, that you are doing a good job, okay? But imagine trying to do that for 3-4 days without sleeping. Can you tell that I'm putting my 100% in this and I cannot take the time to rest? No, your productivity will just
I would
take
crash
down. Yes.
and I would need somebody to take care of me, and then I would maybe go for days recovering and not being able to take care of
But at the same time, if you get your enough rest and come back the next day, how do you feel?
Refreshed and energetic to do it again.
Do you think you can do a better job at that time?
Yeah.
Exactly. So we have to be temperate in what we do and how we do.
Yeah, so you're right. So we don't want to burn out, even doing the good thing.
And we have had even very, very old senior ministers who, even after retirement, they were volunteering to go and visit different places where the work was kind of stagnant or they didn't have that much of interest. But why? It's because of their zeal, because they are love. So they don't burn out and they are never thinking that it's too much and I have to just quit this thing. They just want to go and do the work of the Lord.
Amen. On to Wednesday, be useful. So page 39, being useful. Instead of trying to get rich quick, where should we be putting our focus and our energies?
On the verse it says, occupy till I come. So basically use the talents for the glory of God and focus on that.
Amen. So the Lord gave us talents, and there are many different things. We're talking about time, finances, musical talents, technical talents, whatever they are, might be talent of talking, many talents, and the Lord wants us to use them. And I just want to briefly look at Luke chapter 19, where he talks about the parable of the talents. So if you look at Luke chapter 19 and verse 12, it says, he said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come. And so here, we've all been given different talents, Some of us may have a talent of music. Paloma is a great cellist, so she has a talent of music. Some of us may have a talent of cooking. Some of us may have a talent of just being friendly, talking to people. Some of us may have a talent with computers, whatever it might be. Some other people might have a talent with helping people with their health. We mentioned time as a talent. And what should we be doing with these talents? How should we be using them?
We have to see how we can bless others by using this talent, not just for myself. And the other thing is, we should not be like the slothful servant who goes and hides the talent.
Exactly.
And the only way, how do we build our muscle?
Work out.
By exercising. And the same way, we have to use our talent. That's the only way you exercise your talent and you develop even more.
Or you lose it.
If you don't use it, then yes, you lose it. And when it talks about these 3 servants, okay, or the slothful servant, what happened to the one that did not use his talent? His was taken and given to the one that
used his.
Multiplied it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how it would happen. So we have to use it for a blessing to others. And again, sometimes we have mentioned about it before, but sometimes due to difficulties or unfortunate situations, certain people fall into difficult situations. And God gives us these talents or these means so we can be a steward for him to help those that are in need.
Exactly.
So you mentioned about singing. We did go to the nursing home to sing for those that were there. Okay, we talk about having a happy or a cheerful countenance. Sometimes even just saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" or "Have a blessed day," or something like that.
Exactly.
Cheerfully is a blessing.
Amen.
And we don't have to go and preach. Preaching is good, but even just this little thing is a big thing. And it talks about how we can use our memory, our influence, property, and all the other things that we have for the furtherance of God's word.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that out, Johnson. Even the little things, it's not a big sermon sometimes. It's the little things, like Johnson said, saying hello, God bless you, have a blessed week, or thank you, just a kind thank you. People will say, oh, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that so much. And you can make somebody's day by doing these little things. And not only that, I mean, we can use them for God's glory, like you mentioned, and to advance His kingdom. So under the note here, however large, could you read that for us, Paloma? And might as well go to the end because this is very important.
However large, however small the possessions of any individual, let him remember that it is his only entrust. For his strength, skill, time, talents, opportunities, and means, he must render an account to God. This is an individual work. God gives to us that we may become like him, generous, noble, beneficent, by giving to others. Those who, forgetful of their divine mission, seek only to save or to spend in the indulgence of pride or selfishness, may secure the gains and pleasures of this world. But in God's sight, estimated by their spiritual attainments, they are poor, wretched, miserable, blind, naked. When rightly employed, wealth becomes a golden bond of gratitude and affection between man and his fellow men, and a strong tie to bind his affections to his Redeemer.
Thank you. So here we see that all the talents we might have, whatever it is, strength, skill, time, finances, they're actually just given us. And we're responsible for them to God. They're not our own. Any good gift that we have is from the Lord.
As the verse said, occupy till I come. That's exactly what it is. Talents are given to us to use till he comes.
Yeah.
And when he comes, we have to give an account of how we used each of the talent.
It's going to be
Did we multiply it? Did we hide it? Or did we use it for ourselves?
Yeah.
And as it mentioned about how in God's sight they are seen as poor, wretched, miserable, blind, naked.
Yeah.
It's almost like getting all these riches or talents and putting it in a pocket that has a hole.
Yeah.
Okay? You think you're filling it, but nothing stays there.
You're right. The parable will be fulfilled at the end. And some, they'll multiply their talents and God will bless them and they're going to get eternal life. Some of them will be taken away. Looking at the experience of Solomon, we've been talking about him already a few times in this lesson. And Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 2:10, and whatsoever mine eyes desired, he could have said my eyes, my ears, my tongue, whatever he wanted, he had. I kept not from them. I withheld not from my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. And then verse 11, then I looked at all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit. Have mercy. And there was no profit under the sun. So even if we would be like Solomon, have everything we wanted, try every food we wanted. You know, I have a list. I have a few lists on my phone. I have a to-eat list. I have a to-go list. So places I want to eat in the area internationally, people say, you got to try this restaurant in this place. I'm like, okay, let me add it to my list. This place that looks so beautiful for vacation, whatever, I put it on my to-go list. And Solomon had these lists, but he checked them all off. And at the end said, he's like, it's worthless. It's all vanity, vexation of spirit. And where should we be putting our energy in? Not to accomplish these lists, but our energy, our time should be concentrated on what? Let's look at these last two notes. Could you read that for us, Johnson?
The energy now concentrated on cheap perishable goods should be enlisted in the that is to enlighten the world. Let every energy God has given be used in the work, which bears with it the blessed satisfaction that it is for time and for eternity. Let none waste time in deploring the scantiness of their visible resources. The outward appearance may be unpromising, but energy and trust in God will develop resources.
Thank you. So our time and energy needs to be put where? It says, let every energy God has given be used in the work which bears with it the blessed satisfaction that is for time and eternity. And what is that? That's working for saving others, working for our souls.
And just to not to miss, because we have to see both sides of the coin. The previous note here, it says, we must turn away from 1,000 topics that invite attention. There are matters that consume time and arouse inquiry, but end in nothing. The highest interests demand the close attention and energy that are so often given to comparatively insignificant things. So sometimes we think that something is so important and we put in all energy, but it's of no use. Whereas if we could have used that time and that energy and that talent on something else, it would have been amounted for something greater.
Yeah, it's true. So we see here that we have to use the talents God gave us and make wise use of them, and the Lord will bless them. And as we move on to Thursday, as we're wrapping it up, a purchased possession. So we've been talking, it's okay to consider a field. It's okay to consider property, to buy it, to invest, to make choices for school, for career. It's okay. That's what we learned from Proverbs. The Proverbs 31 woman, she did this. She had her own business. But like Johnson has already mentioned earlier on in the lesson, is this occupying all our time? Are we thinking about this at night? Are we just zoning in on that? If we are, it's taking too much attention from us. It's actually becoming a god to us. And the example here under 5a on Thursday is the attitude of the rich man. He was a rich man. He had barns. He had houses. And what was his thought? They were producing good. They had a good harvest that year. He was like, wow, my barns are getting full. And what was his thought? What did he say he was going to do when he didn't have any more room to?
He was thinking bigger. Since it's not enough, I need to break this down and then build bigger.
Have mercy. And, maybe it would have been a different story if he would have thought, since it's not enough room, how can I share with others? How can I give? How can I help the community? How can I reach those who are in need?
We're not called to give everything we have and live like poor people.
No.
Okay.
We should live comfortably.
We have to. Sometimes people think that you go overboard and you have to live like this, poor people. Then only God is going to bless you. No, God doesn't want you to be suffering. But at the same time, sometimes even by kind of keeping things away from us, or meaning like self-sacrifice. Okay, there are times when sometimes you have to just share your food with someone that's even more needy.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't mean to say that you should never eat and then you should give all your food to the poor. But if you can share, it's even a better blessing. And it also mentioned about if he were a good businessman, he would have built it bigger, but at the same time, he would have thought about those around him, how he can be a blessing.
Yeah.
But when he thinks about just what his hand can do,
he was thinking about himself.
Yes.
You're right. So that's with ourselves too. We should be wise businessmen, wise businessmen and women. We should be wise stewards if God has blessed us. We should think how we can grow, right? But like you mentioned, it's not only about us. How can we help others? How can we use it for the Lord? Because here he was thinking in verse 19, Luke 12:19, and I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. You have your retirement plan. Take thine ease, eat, drink, be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then those things then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God? But if that man said, you know what? I have plenty of barns and stuff already. Let me help others. Let me help the community. Let me help the church. I'm not going to give everything away, so I'm poor, but I'm going to help. And then maybe he would have had a portion in heaven.
And just to think about, when we talk about King Solomon,
Yeah.
he was a king, so he gets in taxes and other things all the money. Think about Job, He was a businessman too. And when you talk about a businessman, he was a very rich businessman. But he took really good care of his servants. And that's why we see that, again, the ones that work, and same with Abraham as well.
Yeah, what are we doing with the money?
So they were kind to their servants, and they were looking after them but because they were their own family as well. They were their household, but they were looking after them really well. But here, as you mentioned, yes, but he's looking at himself. He says, I'll say, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. So he's just looking at enjoying himself, not providing for others.
That's true. So as we think about it, what should be first and foremost in our mind in life under part B? All the wealth in this world, all the wealth that Solomon had, that Elon Musk has, Jeff Bezos, what is that compared to the price paid for our life on Calvary? All the money in the world could not purchase it. And God bought us with a price, and if we give ourselves to Him, everything that we have should do what? Should go back to Him. We want to serve Him more. We want to use our time. We're going to want to use our talents. We want to use the finance He has given us to bless Him. And we see here in the note, if you could read that first couple sentences, Paloma. Actually, the whole note. It's a good note.
Under B.
The last note, yeah.
The whole note?
Yeah.
Okay. Whether or not we give mind, soul, and strength to God, it all belongs to Him. God speaks to each human being saying, I have a claim on you. Give me your zeal, your capabilities, your energy, your means. He has a right to ask this, for we are His, redeemed by His boundless love and by the agony of the cross of Calvary from the service of sin. On no account are we to devote our powers to self-serving. Day by day we are to return to the Lord that which He has entrusted to us.
Thank you so much. So here we see that we owe God something. He did something for us. He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, the King of the universe, our Creator, to die for us. And all that we have, our time, our energy, our thoughts, our means, belong to Him. So if we truly love God, we will not be focusing on getting rich quick, although it might be tempting. But we will be focusing on using the means He has given us, using the talents He has given us, and furthering them for His cause, helping share with others about Jesus, about the God we know. So not only us, but our friends and those around us can enjoy heaven and everlasting life in the mansions above. And that is my wish and prayer for all of us here today. And let us now bow our heads for a closing prayer. Dear Lord, we thank You for this blessed day. We thank You for life, for health, for strength. We thank You for giving us many talents, dear Lord. Time, financial talents, musical talents, energy, other capabilities, dear Lord, that You have given to us. We pray that You will help us to use them to honor You, to reach others, and to return our talents to You. We pray, dear Lord, that You will help each and every one of us here today, and all those who are listening with us online, that You will help us to have multiplied our talents, that when You come again, dear Lord, You may say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of my Lord. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
We want to thank you for joining us today. Join us next week as we study the lesson titled Using and Multiplying Talents. God bless.